We're on step 120. We're going to cut out the fin skins, and the first step in that is to chamfer that line. And the instructions say to use a rounded dowel or knitting needle. I'm going to use a dull knife, and it's going to be right on this diagonal line here on all 8 of the fins. So I'm just kind of scoring lightly, and then I'm going to cut out the fin. Okay, and then we're going to do that for all the fins. There's 8 of them, like I said. And then in step 121, we're going to crease it along that line. So if you did it right, you can just gently bend it over, just like that. So we get a nice little crease line. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll be right back. We're on step 122, which is to now glue the fin faces onto the fin framework, which we had done earlier. You can see that this little cutout right here can be used as a guide to get things to line up nicely. So it's going to be glued on that way. And the instructions say to use wood glue, and I'll show you how to do that, but you also have the option of using super glue. The advantage of wood glue is it's forgiving. It allows you to reposition as necessary. The disadvantage is it's got water in it, and water in paper can make the paper crinkly. Super glue won't make the paper crinkly, but you only get one shot at it. So it's not forgiving at all. I'm going to start by using wood glue, and I'll show you this technique first. The key is to use as little as possible. So I'm going to go all around the perimeter, and then I'm going to smooth everything out. So now I'm going to spread it out. Okay, so before I touch the paper, I want to get all the glue off my fingers because you don't want to get any glue on the upper surface. So again, start here, line that up, line up that back edge, and then push it down. All right, so now I'm going to take my damp cloth, and it's just very lightly damp. You don't want to put too much water on it. And I'm going around the perimeter, taking off any glue that's oozing out. Okay, so that looks pretty nice. I like that. This is beautiful. Now, for super glue, it's the same, except we won't use the water and we won't use wood glue. We're going to use medium glue, and I'm going to put some plastic down on my table just so I don't glue anything to the table. Same thing again, just go around the perimeter. Now again, this time I only get one shot at this, so kind of lift this side up so you can kind of get in here. Make sure you're on that edge. And then I'm looking at my edge over here before I push everything down. So I'm going to go ahead and do all my fins, all 4 of them, and then we'll come back for the next step, 123. Okay, in step 123, it's time to clean up the edges. First thing that the instructions call for is taking some thin CA and wicking it into the edges. And you gotta be really careful of this because you don't want to get it on the surface. If you get it on the surface, wipe it off immediately because otherwise it's gonna leave a bump. So you want to go around all the edges with thin CA. Gosh, man, I can't control it. It comes out so fast. Okay, I'm going to do that to all the fins, but our next step is I find that there's always a little bit of a gap somewhere. You know, if like one side sticks up higher than the other on the fin skin, you're going to see it when you paint it. So if there's any gaps, I'm going to come with medium thick CA glue. I'm going to go around the perimeter, particularly the outside edges, not so much the root edge, but these outside edges which get paint, and you'll see it. And this is going to fill any gaps. So the first time with the thin was just to seal the edges down. This is to fill any gaps in between the 2 skin sides. This is a little easier to control too. All right, and then I'm going to take my accelerator, and then the accelerator will kick it off. And give that a second to work, and then I can wipe it off. All right, so now it's hard. I'm not sticking to it. Now we want to clean up the edge, and for that, I'm going to use some fine grit sandpaper. Okay, so here's some 320 sandpaper. Now I'm just going to clean up those edges. Okay, I'm going to do that for all the fins. We are going to use the fins in the next step, and we're going to make the upper part that goes on top of these. You can see over here, the part we made here is this fin back here. We now have to do this fin right here. This one is a little harder because we have to do a lot of sanding. These are a mixture of plywood on the inside and then balsa wood on the outside, and then we sand everything to match that shape right there. It's a little harder, but I'll show you how to do that in the next few steps. So we'll see you then. We're starting step 125, and we're going to start by removing MF2 from the plywood sheet, and we're also going to remove all 8 of these fin parts from part number 15511. This is the balsa sheet. So go ahead and start removing those, and we'll be right back. Okay, in step 126, we're going to glue the balsa pieces to the plywood core. But before you do that, I would recommend sanding the outside edges, particularly the flat edge right here and the trailing edge right here, to remove all the burnt edges. This will make it a lot easier to do the sanding because you'll have a reference being able to compare the thickness of this wood because the core is already black. In fact, what I might do on this one is to take a Sharpie and make sure that this is nice and black. All right, so now we're going to glue these, one on each side, using some medium thick CA. Okay, so now because I got that nice black line in the middle, I can actually see where we're sanding. Now what we're going to do, we're going to match the slope of the fin here. So it's sloping down from the root edge, and then it's also getting thinner as we go towards the tip. Now, this is not easy to sand because it's just hard to hold. So in the instructions in step 127, it says to take a piece of masking tape, and we're going to mask off like the back 1/4 inch like that, and then flip it around and get another 1/4 inch on this side like that. And we're going to start here, and we're going to slope this down towards the tip. This is going to be at an angle because we want to go towards the tip. So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to go from the root edge, we're going towards a tip this way. So this is going to take a while. And the purpose of the tape back here is so that we don't accidentally, get the sandpaper going in the wrong direction. Hopefully you can see this, that this edge is getting skinnier. This edge is still fat. So now I'm going to work on that edge. So I'm going to sand for a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what I've got. You can see I'm putting pressure here with my finger. I'm trying to make sure that I get a lot of pressure at that tip. And I'm just starting to go into the tape right there, but I'm getting pretty close here on the tip. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape. You can kind of see that both edges look pretty even. Now I got to take it and go this way. And this again, so I'm going to hold it like this and start at the tip edge. There's a slight angle between the two. Okay, I'm going to flip it over, do some of the other side. Okay, so now I'm looking at my back edge right here, and I got a long way to go. Ideally, it should be flat. Mine is a little bit, has a curve to it. Okay, so at this point I want to check it. And what's the check? Well, the check is to get one of your fins that you made earlier, and you want to stack them together, lay them on the table, try to see how close you are to matching this edge right here. I'm a little bit thick right here at the bottom, but I'm not too far away. So again, look at your bottom, see which side needs to be flattened out. Okay, so I'm pretty close here. So now I'm going to switch from 60 grit to, 320 grit just to finally smooth it off. Okay, so now I'm going to round off my edges and double check one last time. That's pretty good. Yay! That was a lot of sanding. That was about 5 minutes of work. I'm going to do another one, but I'm going to do it in a different method. Maybe you might like this second method a little bit better. It's just that it's really hard on your fingers because it's just so hard to grip this thing as you're getting it thinner and thinner and thinner. Okay, so now I'm back. I'm going to show you an alternate method. It's still a lot of sanding, but it's a little bit easier on your fingers. So again, this is my imaginary tabletop. We're going to take our fin and we're going to lay it along the edge, but it's going to slide around. So to keep it from sliding, I've got some spray adhesive and I just want to spray the backside just lightly. Should do this outdoors. And then we're going to tack it down along the edge. Okay, so now it's a lot more rigid. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing as we did before. We're just going to use the spray adhesive to kind of help us, and it's a little easier on your fingers. So again, I'm going down to the tip here first, and I can also go towards the edge. So I can actually do both at the same time. So again, we'll just do this for a long time. Flip it over, spray the other side, sand some more, flip it over, keep flipping it over. The sandpaper is actually taking off the adhesive, so you don't really have to worry about that so much. So we're just sanding. And because I can get more effort into it, I can probably remove more of the material faster. I'm trying to look at this edge right here. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see that edge. That's what I'm looking at, that nice black line. Using that as the guide to see how much I've taken off. You can see it's nice and pretty good so far. Let me compare it to one of the other ones that I've done. So I'm looking at this edge on this side, and that's pretty good. All right, so now I want to just smooth it a little bit just so that the adhesive isn't in such gritty. Okay, so now I'm going to spray this side. Again, make sure you got your table cleaned off because otherwise the adhesive is not going to stick. Put it right up against the edge like that. Okay, so now switching back to the 60 grit. And I wish I was left-handed. Okay, you can see my edge there, and I want to compare it to this one here. Ooh, that's nice and close too. I got just a touch to go. I'm going to switch to the finer grit sandpaper and finish it off.